So, all right, hello, welcome back to the Behind the Docks podcast. I'm your host, Matt Michelle, and today we're with Dave Gulas, CEO and founder of EZDC 3PL, host of the Beyond Fulfillment podcast, as well as the head of Freight by Dave. Dave, how are we doing today?
Hey, fantastic, Matt. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I guess to start off, you wear a lot of different hats. So why don't you give me a bit of a background as to how you got into the logistics space, the podcasting space, the freight space? Just give me the rundown.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in sales really my whole life, and most of that time was in the medical pharmaceutical industry, 20 plus years at sales and an executive level. A good friend of mine from the industry and I were looking to get into a different vertical a few years back. We saw opportunity within e-commerce 3PL because we knew several e-commerce brands that were having challenges with their 3PL in terms of orders not shipping on time, slow response, just really terrible customer service they were receiving. And to give you an idea, our brand of customer service from the pharmaceutical industry is, everything's urgent, everything goes overnight, and things go wrong all the time. So to even survive in that world, you have to be able to respond fast. You have to be able to solve problems on the fly. You have to be available for customers at all types of hours, basically. So we said, you know what, our brand of customer service would be perfect for this industry. And we jumped in and did it. Started the 3PL. We've been growing that over the past 3 years. As far as the freight piece, very early on, I'd have customers ask me to move freight for them, and I'd go out to other freight brokers, and a couple times just terrible experience that my customer had through these other freight brokers where I set up. And I said, man, that can't happen. So I found a way to control the customer experience, and that was by becoming a freight agent with SPI Logistics. So now I have access to their whole network, and they're a fantastic company, been around 40 plus years. They have an excellent agent model, and they really take care of their people well, and they've got a lot of fantastic relationships already set up. So now I have that whole network where any of my clients or anyone else for that matter that needs freight moved, primarily LTL and full truckload is what I focus on. I have that ability, so I can get the load booked with a reputable carrier at a very competitive price and control that customer experience so they know exactly what's going on with their freight and they can get that moved with confidence. That's how that happened. And then as far as the podcast, early on, I realized that, you have to really have an online presence and be out there in terms of growing a company like this where people need to be able to find you when they need warehouse space. So I had a lot of conversations with other entrepreneurs that were very helpful, and then one day the idea hit me. It's like, hey, if you started a podcast, made these conversations public, the audience could benefit, the guests would get exposure, it would help you as well. It would truly be a win-win. And at the time I knew nothing about podcasting, but I found a way to get started, just kept doing it. And now we've done 240 some episodes. We're ranked in the top 1.5% globally by listen notes. I've got a phenomenal following on YouTube, Apple, everywhere else podcasts are heard. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a fantastic networking opportunity as well. So that's how that happened.
That's awesome. How did you ultimately, going from the medical supply distribution space into 3PL space, you mentioned the flexibleness, the agileness, that being kind of the essence of what you do at EZDC. What was ultimately the biggest thing that you had to learn shifting into the logistics space, into the 3PL space, that didn't really carry over from sales?
Well, yeah. So we thought we knew logistics from our experience in the pharma industry, because you're always buying stuff and selling it. Stuff's coming in, it's going right out the door. So we're always tracking shipments. I was running back to the warehouse every day. Did this come out? Okay, it's got to go here, that type of thing. So we thought we really knew logistics. And then once we started a logistics company and we got into the whole e-commerce landscape, we realized really how many things can go wrong. And how many different things you need to be mindful of. So, we went through challenges with finding the right software provider. We went through challenges with being properly staffed. In the beginning, we've tried to do too much with too little. We went through challenges with just not bringing on the right customers, really probably saying yes to too many of the wrong customers in the early days. So there was a lot of growing pains in the early years, but really the guiding principle this entire time has been creating an outstanding customer experience. So that's really been our focus. And throughout all the challenges, we've continued to learn, grow, get better, evolve, correct our mistakes. And that's just been an ongoing process. So, I guess does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And to go off of that, what is the right customer for EZDC? So if you mind getting into a little bit as to what you guys really specialize in, what's your ideal customer? Why should someone go with you?
Yeah, so our ideal customer is really direct-to-consumer Shopify brands that are shipping between 1,000 and 10,000 orders a month. And typically it's smaller items. So in beauty products, nutritional supplements, books, home goods, that sort of thing. Really anything that can fit in a small parcel box. So that's really where we specialize and we focus on, and that we found the most success with. And as far as why they should go with us, so I mean, we hear these stories every day in terms of most of our customers are coming from another 3PL that they're not happy with, and it's kind of a similar thing. I need a response. I'm not getting one. My orders are supposed to ship within 24 hours. They're not shipping. I was promised X and that's not happening, right? So really in general, it's just a kind of a complacency within many parts of the industry, particularly with big box providers, but then even smaller companies as well, to where another big one is the software. People are still if you can believe this, they're still tracking inventory on spreadsheets these days, or they don't have actual robust WMS that can connect to all these different shopping carts that all the e-commerce companies are using these days. So not having the right tech stack is another one where people just run into all sorts of problems. So we take it very seriously that we're an extension of their company. Right. So if they're trusting us to fill their orders and to house their inventory, we want their orders to flow in and go out seamlessly. If there's a problem, we handle it right away. And we just want to basically be that logistics arm where they don't even have to think about it, and they can focus their creative energy on growing their business and operating within their zone of genius, and then leave the logistics to us.
Okay. And then to go into that, if you were a brand, if you were someone looking for a 3PL, what would you say the most important, call it, selection criteria to look at?
Yeah, so I mean, every brand is different, but I'll tell you some of the mistakes that I see brands making, and I've been pretty vocal about this in all the places I post content, is really viewing the 3PL as an expense rather than a partnership. Right? Because we find so often brands don't appreciate how important it is to have a good 3PL partner until they've had a bad 3PL partner. So rather than just viewing it as a commodity or an expense or trying to shop solely based on price, viewing it truly as what it is a partnership. And these people are going to be an extension of my business. So who are the people behind it? What is the process? What type of tech stack do they have? What are their SLAs? Where are they located? What, relative to where all my orders are shipping? I mean, one advantage we have is just being centrally located in Kentucky, where we can reach over 80% of the country within 2 days ground. So I just had a customer come on and they said, all my orders, my top 5 states, they're New York, California, Florida, Texas, I forget what number 5 was, but they said, if I go to 3PLs in any one of these areas, yeah, I'm close here, but all the other ones are way far away. They said the fact that you're in Kentucky is so advantageous because you're centrally located. I mean, that's just one example, right? The location is very important. And just really taking your time and asking really we find the more questions people ask on the front end, the better the relationship typically goes. So rather than trying to shop solely on price or commoditize the decision, really vetting the company properly and making sure they're the right fit for you is I would say is the way to go.
Yeah, and to go off of that, excuse me, when a brand is actually sourcing that partner, ultimately, oftentimes they may not know the right questions to ask. Right? Say I'm a starting brand. I've just outgrown self-fulfillment out of my garage. What do you do specifically to kind of help educate the customer as to how you can help them? Right? You said it's not a transactional relationship. It is very partnership based. How do you ultimately communicate that value to a business owner in a way that's easy for them to understand? Because I mean, look, I'll be blunt with you. Logistics terminology is it can get very confusing very, very fast. So how do you simplify that?
Well, yeah, like just what you said. Like we don't ever talk in like what's the word like industry lingo, or trying to be fancy with the the acronyms, the abbreviations, or the terminology, right? We speak in simple terms, and we always double check to make sure they understand exactly what we're talking about. But we want to understand what their business model is, where their sales channels are, what their tech stack looks like, where they're coming from, or what their business has been historically over at least the past year, what their goals are for the future, what they're trying to do, and so many other things too, in terms of, are they planning to expand into retail? Are they planning to, what their sales volume is X today? What is it going to look like over the next 12, 24 months? What are their plans? What are they doing to facilitate those plans? And on, right? And what does the unboxing experience look like? What do their customers expect from it? We have custom packaging too that we do for people in-house, because unboxing is such an important component, particularly for some of the premium brands these days. Even too, right, especially you mentioned newer companies, how do they understand all the different things that Shopify can do, and are they utilizing that? I mean, we've helped several people just really from that aspect as well. So, I guess to answer your question, there's a myriad of things that you can ask, but just really taking the time to get to know and understand the business. And like, for instance, all those things I just told you, like when people come and say, what's your price? They give me some basic specs and what's your price? Like we don't even get into price until we have a deep conversation about all this stuff. And number one, make sure we're the right fit on both sides, and that we both think it's a good idea to potentially do business. And then we'll start getting into price. And we like to look at the whole transaction, the whole relationship holistically, rather than just, who's got the lowest price on pick, pack, or storage, or whatever it may be.
Okay, so that relationship, I mean, is very intertwined from the beginning. Like you said, you're asking a ton of questions. There is a lot of information, right? How do you most effectively organize all of that into one project scope, if you will?
Well, I mean, again, right? Like I see you got the Fathom here. I got the Fathom too, right? So I mean, that certainly is a great tool to help organize that. And I mean, we have it within the CRM. And oftentimes I may be on the front end, having the initial call with the brand, and then I've got a team too, where I have several operational experts on my team too. And depending on what facility this may go into, or kind of what we're thinking, or who may be involved, I'm also going to take all that information and then have a detailed call with my team. We may have another call with them and the brand to get additional questions answered. And so, we have our own internal format and way we do that. But I always like to really go through it with the key team members to make sure that in case I miss something, someone else is seeing it, or in case I'm not thinking of how this is going to work, someone else will catch it. And we oftentimes kind of go through it like that as we're really deciding on the projects that we're going to take on.
And over time, like I want to go back to the early days of EZDC. You're kind of figuring out, you're navigating this whole space. What did that process look like to actually develop these different types of systems? Was there a certain situation that happened that became kind of the foundation for, all right, this is how we need to do things from now on?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an ongoing learning process, right? And, I think about what we were thinking when we first started the business to where we are now, almost 3.5 years later. I mean, I feel like we've come so far, we've learned so much, but I've always learned by doing. And I've always been like I'm quick to take action, even if, maybe it's not right. I don't know what I'm doing or whatever. I'll definitely get into motion and fail forward, I guess, as they say. So I've learned to I've got people on my team that are maybe a different type of personality, more conservative, more cautious, and more kind of analytical, where they're looking out for all the different things that could go wrong too. So I like bouncing those ideas off people like that, so that they're going to see things that I don't see. But I mean, it's one of those things to where when we started, right, we had to make those mistakes in order to learn and grow, I think. And I really wouldn't change anything, because I really like where we're at right here, right now, where we're going. But it's just been an ongoing learning process. But again, like I mentioned earlier, our guiding principle has always been about the customer experience and what we're trying to create for those brands. And so I think that staying true to that mission has really helped us continue to grow and retain the customers we have, and even attain the ones that we've brought on recently, because I mean, they see that's real, and they see that from the top down, how we operate, how we interact, and what we do, that they can see that is our mission, and we're staying true to it.
Okay, and I guess to go into the kind of the brand image, the storytelling, right, where you pride yourselves heavily on that customer experience and providing customer service. A lot of 3PLs, I find, have trouble differentiating themselves. How did you ultimately navigate that and kind of finding your specific niche? Was it a trial and error thing? Like, I mean, you mentioned it before, working with different types of brands, but how did that process look like on your end? And I guess more broadly, why do you think that it is kind of a common issue within the space?
Well, so I mean, just if you look at the sheer numbers, right, there's something like 10,000 or so 3PLs within the US. So when you look at that many, and so many of them, for instance, operate as faceless, nameless brands. So it's real easy for a brand, if they're not familiar with the industry, if they haven't shopped for a 3PL before, if they're not really kind of in tune with it, it's very easy for everyone to really look the same. So, I mean, I've done a lot with the personal branding over the last couple of years too, in terms of posting content every single day on LinkedIn for years, right? We mentioned my podcast, so starting the podcast and getting that out there, putting all those clips. And now I guest on a lot of different shows. So I talk about all this stuff. And in the beginning, right, to where the content I talk about and I post was kind of maybe more self-promotional. Now I literally will post about stuff that's actually going on, things I see or opinions I have or real life situation. You know, we had a truckload get stolen, and you know, it was luckily it got found a couple days later, and you know, no harm, no foul. But I did a post about that, about just the kind of the roller coaster of emotions to when someone impersonates a legitimate carrier and literally steals a truckload, and then you got to call the customer and tell them what happened. I mean, that's it. No one wants to deal with that. But, you know, I was like, this is great content, right? So, and everything to the terrible sales pitches I get from all these people trying to sell me everything you can think of. I post about that stuff all the time. And I guess people resonate. I think people resonated with it because it's real and people can relate, because a lot of other operators are going through the same thing.
And you, I mean, you do a lot of media, you do a lot of content. Is there something that you find that isn't talked about enough within the space? Anything that you kind of think should be a larger topic of discussion?
Yeah, you know, someone asked, it was actually in a magazine interview I did written, but they asked kind of a similar question. And I would just say, I guess, you know, mental health, right? I think, and I don't know if, I guess, I don't feel like it's talked about enough. And just from the standpoint of, I guess, your own self-care, meaning if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be growing a company and you're going to be posting content, and then, you know, get at our age, most people have families, so there's that, all those issues to deal with. So you're juggling all these different things. I find it so important to, well, I guess not only your mental, but your physical health too, is really to have that, you know, properly taken care of, so you can deal with all these different challenges, emotions, business issues you have to deal with. Because again, in this world, the way it's evolving, technology, AI, this 24-hour always on type of cycle that we're involved in, you know, it can get challenging. So I would just say self-care and making sure your mental health is right is paramount to anyone that's running a business today. 1000%.
And as an entrepreneur, you are evidently responsible for a lot of other people and a lot of other things going on. So how do you focus on your own mental health, your own physical health, while simultaneously having to kind of worry about so many other people?
Yeah, well, so like with the people, for instance, we have a team huddle every morning, and I'm always in touch with my key people. But it's just literally, I mean, it sounds simple. It's just being a good person and checking in with people and having that awareness if something's going on or someone's having an issue, and just asking them if they're okay on a human level, right? So, I mean, to me, that just is kind of automatic. And, you know, I have 6 kids, right? So I'm always checking on my kids in the same way. And then, whether it's vendors, partners, employees, or anyone else I deal with day to day, just you can sense if something's not right. So if you do sense, then you're just making sure people are okay. As far as my mental health, yeah, I'm very into clean living and working out every day and eating right, and meditation and all these other types of things. So I'm very dialed into making sure that my mental is right so I can be my best self for everyone that's depending on me.
Yeah, it's ultimately about finding that balance, right? You can't overwork yourself. You also gotta manage what you have to do and get it done. I guess to go into that a little bit more, right? You do wear a lot of different hats. Is there any kind of strategies or processes or systems that you've built to kind of help ultimately coordinate them all, if that makes sense? Like, you're doing a lot of different things. How do you organize yourself so that you're able to manage them all kind of simultaneously?
Yeah, so I years ago, when I was kind of overwhelmed and I was trying to look for strategy, I came across a great system from a good friend. His name's Jason Henkel, but he's got a company called Focus to Evolve. But he's got a great training on how you actually can use Outlook Calendar and schedule tasks properly. And I remember when I saw it, I was overwhelmed. I bought his training and I literally put it in place like within like a day or so, and it's been immensely helpful. So, stuff like that. I mean, just in terms of organizing the workflow. And now I'm literally in the midst of implementing a lot of AI type of automations with my CRM and different tools I use, really just to multiply my effectiveness and how quick I can move through the sales process and get more done in less time. And even with all that, as strategic as you want to be, there's still stuff that's going to happen. You're still going to get blindsided. You're still going to, even today I had stuff come up in my schedule that I didn't expect, and it took time and whatnot. So, I mean, you want to be as prepared as possible, but always be flexible about how you manage your time, what you give your energy, and what result needs to be accomplished. And I guess just always having the awareness to focus on what's the most important in that moment, I guess. But again, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy, but and then I guess at the end of the day, making sure I'm anything that needs to be done is done, and I have a good outlook on what tomorrow looks like, and I have a plan for tomorrow. Doing that the night before, I think, is very helpful as well.
For sure, yeah, that's, I find personally, something that I'm really working on, is building out my own systems. You mentioned, to kind of move forward, you mentioned implementing AI within your different systems, and I want to bring that to a little bit more of a broader space. Operationally speaking, automation and robotics and implementing new technology has been huge for 3PLs. But one thing that we've noticed, and I mean, it's kind of the essence of what we do here at WearMatch, is that hasn't necessarily translated towards the digital marketing aspect. So my question for you is, why do you think that aspect of a 3PL's business kind of gets overlooked in being able to communicate their particular value to customers digitally?
Again, this is probably just an opinion, but from what I see, the vast majority of people that I encounter in the logistics space, look, they're great operators, but maybe they're not necessarily great salespeople or great marketers or content people. So, I mean, I've been fortunate to be in sales my whole life. So, I mean, I'm very comfortable having conversations and running that aspect of it. And then I was brand new to content marketing when I started like 3 years ago. But I guess I would, and again, it's hard for me to speak to everyone else, but I would just say, like, I realized very quickly that if I didn't do this, it was going to be very tough for our company to grow. So I said, okay, that's what I got to do. I'm going to do it. And I guess just having that ability to take action and not because if you think about it, why wouldn't everybody want to do digital marketing and guest on podcasts and do interviews like this and really put themselves out and really post content, right? In today's world, it gives you such a greater impact. So why aren't people doing it? I mean, I know a lot of people let fear hold them back. What are people going to think? Whatever, but I would say, like, listen, if you're trying to grow your business, like, you have to get out there so people know who you are. So I've just been able to just do it, right? So, and I guess I don't know what people have their own reasons for not doing that, but I don't know, that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I love that mentality, by the way. But I do find it interesting that a lot of people are very happy with kind of being static. Hey, this is the way we do things. We don't really want to change it. As an entrepreneur yourself, I'm sure that mentality can't really come across your mind, because if it does, you can't keep building, right? So to go into that, how are you able to kind of separate growth, so wearing a lot of different hats, doing a lot of different things, while also at the same time having the foundation to do them properly, right? Like, you don't want to be a jack of all trades but a master of none. So how do you focus on expanding into new branches with the foundation to still be there?
Yeah, 100%, right? So I mean, we, despite what I might do different things, they do all tie together, right? So the freight is a component. Everything that gets to our warehouse typically is coming in on some type of freight, whether it's a truckload, whether it's a container, whether it's LTL. So the freight is just a natural component of that. That's, kind of folds right in. And then, the podcast too, right? I'm talking to other entrepreneurs. Every single customer that we have is an entrepreneur. Right, so that started this e-commerce brand. So that's who I'm comfortable talking to, who I deal with, and it's been a good, great lead engine and customer, I guess, social proof engine for the business. But our core mission really is still helping e-commerce brands as their fulfillment partners. So as we continue to grow and expand, and we get more facilities, we get more space. I mean, that's really going to be the mission. So we're just focused on doing that better, doing that as a high level, and scaling properly to where, as we have more volume and more customers and more, a bigger footprint, we can intelligently use all that stuff to, as leverage to get better deals on everything we need to, and to offer a better service. And obviously, the more reps we're putting in every day with the team, we're going to naturally get better and be better prepared to offer those services to the new customers that we get. So I guess for us, I mean, I feel like we're very dialed into our mission. And as you grow, of course, there's always new challenges, and it certainly it's a challenge. Growth in itself is a challenge, but I feel like sticking to our core mission is what as long as we focus on that, I think we'll continue to see the growth and success like we've seen over the past few years.
And having spoken to so many different founders, whether it be other people in the logistics space, whether it be brands themselves, do you find that there's one main takeaway or one kind of thing that you've learned that has been integral to the development of your business? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, for instance, on the podcast, right? At this point, I've probably interviewed close to 300 entrepreneurs from all different, many in logistics, but all types of different industries as well. And if I had to pick one single quality from all these successful people that I've talked to, that is essential for people to succeed, it's resilience. Meaning, like, so often you have this idea, you have this plan, you have this vision, and then, life punches you in the face and knocks you down, and your plan goes out the window, and you gotta get up, you gotta figure it out, and you gotta, deal with whatever adversity you didn't see coming. So I've heard so many crazy stories of what people have went through, and just some of the most incredibly bad luck that people can have, but yet they found a way to persevere through it. They found a way to keep going. They found a way to get back up. They found a way to be creative and pivot and do more with less and make the best of whatever situation they're in. And as long as they didn't quit, as long as they kept moving forward and stayed true to their mission, I mean, those are the people that have ultimately succeeded. And then when they get through to the other side, the gratitude they have for the journey has just been inspiring. So, I mean, I guess that's the biggest takeaway from interviewing all these people is to have that lens of not getting discouraged when things don't go your way, and understanding that even the adversity is leading to growth, and ultimately that's what is going to develop you into the person capable of achieving what you want.
And has that kind of happened to you? Is there a concrete example, whether it is with EZDC or one of your previous ventures, where you had to have that fail forward moment, if you will? And if so, kind of what was it and how'd you go and navigate it?
Yeah, I would say in the very early on days, like the first time I went to a major industry trade show, right? Like we had just started and we had built a website, and we had like one or two customers, and you know, and when I saw how big the industry was and how many other people were there and what they were doing, and then I realized that the content piece of it, and that was kind of an epiphany for me. It was like, if I don't get out there and start doing this, we'll never grow to the level that we need to. And again, right, no experience doing it, didn't really know how to, but I just started, kept learning, found the right people, continued to make mistakes, continued to work on all those aspects of it, eventually started the podcast, same process. But so it's just really the mindset of whatever I need to do, I'm going to do. And even if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to learn what to do and keep moving forward. And so I think you can apply that mindset to anything. And if you stay consistent, you'll be amazed at, as the time passes, how far you can go.
And in podcasting in of itself, it's a completely different ball game. How has that process been kind of over time in understanding what people actually want to see, or what people actually want to hear, right? How do you find that engaging content?
Yeah, well, so it's incredible. You know, I think when I first started and kind of where we are now, it's really incredible. But people, it's really all about the stories, right? And again, people are interested in people. And then from the guest perspective, so many of these people, you know, I talk to people that have numerous people that have had 8-9-figure exits, right? And they're in the position, and then they're starting something new. And it's not like they have to, but they just love the game and they want to get back. They want to create a product that's going to benefit other people. And so they just want to be able to tell their story, and hopefully that can benefit someone else. And then from the listener's perspective, right, everyone's dealing with their own challenges. And, you know, just like I started it because I learned so much from talking to other entrepreneurs and hearing their story, same thing from the listeners. Like when they hear how these other entrepreneurs, what they went through, the challenges they overcame, what the mindset was in the moment, how even the most successful people you can imagine still have imposter syndrome and how they deal with it, and all these different aspects that can be useful to someone that's running a business. I mean, that's how people learn, is from listening to other people. So I guess that's been the biggest takeaway for me.
For sure. And where do you see yourself? Where do you see EZDC within the next 3 to 5 years? What does that kind of future outlook look like for you from a growth perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, we're just continuing. I mean, really for the foreseeable future, it's really expanding our footprint within Kentucky. I mean, we're in this midst of getting more space right now. Our whole infrastructure is there, and it's a great place to be centrally located for brands that need one location. So, I mean, I suppose we may branch out to having a multi-node approach in the future, but I mean, for the foreseeable future, there's a lot of growth we see within Kentucky and with that area and what we can do there. So, I mean, that's just really our focus, and we're not trying to do too much too fast, and just continue to stay consistent, take care of our customers, grow incrementally, and do what we've been doing and evolve. But I mean, that's really what we see, is just continuing to expand our footprint within Kentucky.
For sure. And throughout the course of this interview, you've given a lot of advice to entrepreneurs or really just anyone on how to kind of navigate starting a business, running a business, kind of the ins and outs, and just the general mindset. Specific to the 3PL space, what general advice do you have to someone looking to start a 3PL? What do you think they should be focusing on? What do you think is kind of the most important thing for them to establish, to ultimately grow and succeed?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all about what the customer wants. So, I mean, again, there's all types of different niches that in different areas to specialize in. It's a vast industry. So I guess, and again, right, it's only growing and it's only going to continue to grow and evolve, particularly with the e-commerce growth that's projected, and with the rise of the AI shopping, and the, shopping being integrated with all these LLMs. So, it's certainly a growing industry, but I would just say be focused on what the customer wants and being able to deliver value, in a way that's profitable. But I mean, again, right, there's so many different niches and so many different things that people bring to the table. So there's certainly room for a lot more good companies. But I would say just focus on delivering excellent customer service and let that be your guiding principle. That would be my advice.
And to go into the niche aspect, right? Every 3PL has their own niche. They all do different things. That being said, the way that they communicate that to customers isn't the most effective. And what I mean by that is a lot of things such as specific certifications, different pricing mechanisms, stuff like that, isn't often showed until much later in the actual initial communication process or outreach process. I mean, it's something that kind of WearMatch and a lot of similar companies were built to ultimately fix. So to go off of that, what impact have you seen technology, more specifically kind of digital marketplaces and matchmakers, have on that initial sourcing and quoting process? And think of it not only the positives, but where do you think sometimes they kind of miss the mark, or where they just don't get certain aspects of the process itself?
Yeah, so where I think it's helpful is just kind of what you said, right? Every 3PL has different things they specialize in, and it can be daunting if you're just trying to Google or look at it for some basic online search. So having like an industry expert like a WearMatch who can kind of distill all this data from all these 3PLs nationwide, and then kind of distill it down. So, okay, brand X is looking for a 3PL that does this, that, and this. Okay, WearMatch is going to say, okay, you're going to want to talk to these companies. Okay, great. So, I mean, just having that partner that can do it at no additional cost to the brand, I think shortcuts the time and makes the process a lot easier. Where I think that can go wrong is just, and I don't know if this is the fault of the matchmakers or not, but I mean, I've seen this happen through the matchmaking process, is again where people just try to commoditize it, or they try to say, okay, I've got these 6 companies that look like they're the right fit for me. Okay, what's your price? And I'm just going to shop solely based on price. So I mean, again, I see people trying to do that through these digital marketplaces, and maybe that's the way some people are wired, or maybe they don't know what they don't know. But as I said earlier, I think that's the wrong approach when selecting a fulfillment partner, where the conversation needs to go so much deeper than that to make sure you're properly aligned, you are the right fit. And of course, pricing is important, but there's so many things that are equally important that you need to be mindful of.
And do you think, like, you got the wheel spinning a little bit, that commoditizing of 3PLs, having them being compared solely on the quantitatives, excuse me, do you think that can work for some types of customer profiles, but in a broader context, it can't?
Again, if you have a very basic business and your margins are tight and it's all about the lowest price, I guess maybe it could work. But I mean, from what we've seen, every customer is different. They have different offerings to their customers. The products are different, the channels are different. I mean, there's so many variables within going company to company. And again, how they want to communicate is different. Their personalities are different from founder to founder, and whoever's really the main point of contact within that organization. So I suppose it could work in certain situations, but again, I think it's so much more important to dive deep and make sure you're the right fit on many different levels before you just look at the qualitatives and just say, okay, they have the best pricing across the board, I'm going with them. Because again, I talk to almost every day, I talk to people that are not happy with a 3PL, and I can only imagine how they got there, maybe from just shopping on price. But because no one ever goes in thinking that they're going to leave after 6 months or a year, or their business is going to be in crisis and they need to move warehouses right away. But yet that happens all the time. So again, so important to get it right on the front end before you commit to a fulfillment partner.
Sure. Yeah. And ultimately, what do you think? What would be in a perfect world, you have total control over kind of fixing that process? Is there something that you think would be something that would be important to add or modify within the way that these matchmakers operate?
Yeah, I mean, just as like for thinking about WearMatch, right? Just as you have these, the facility profile and the niches they do and the certifications and all this stuff. I mean, probably going deeper on the team, the people, and even maybe, putting some other, like, allowing a section for the brand to talk about all these other things that are important to them and ask questions kind of on a deeper level, and maybe have that dialogue where it's not strictly about how much space do you have and what type of products and what's your SLAs and all this other kind of basic stuff, but to kind of go deeper on other things that'll be more impactful to the relationship. I suppose that's something that you could implement.
For sure. So having it being based even more so on qualitative fit as opposed to just the metrics.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my last question for you, is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest? Any questions you may have had for me? It's been great so far. I've got it to learn quite a bit, and I really appreciate it. But let's call this the open mic. The floor is yours.
Yeah, well, so we're recording this. It's early February, so we're right in the midst of Q1. It's a super busy salespeople, so I'm having a lot of conversations with different e-commerce brands that are looking to make a move without warehouse within, where they're going for their 3PL. So I would just say, right, if you are a brand, you're considering that. If you're looking for a central location in Kentucky, and you have, whether you're in beauty, supplements, or like a small parcel type of product, and your direct-to-consumer e-commerce, certainly give EZDC 3PL a look, particularly if your focus is on just really having a fulfillment partner that is going to be there for you and create an outstanding customer experience. I would say, yeah, give us a look, and I'm easy to find. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email at dave@EZDC3PL.com.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to have personal bias, but Dave's the man. So if that's you, go reach out, go give him a shout, and he'll get you right. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I got to, like I said, learn a lot, not only about your business, but also about you as an entrepreneur, which I really, really appreciate. I hope this blows up. We both become super, super famous. But it's been great working with you so far. So yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.